there are a lot of folks who go to church, even read the Bible, whatever, but and in the study they showed that like a lot of them have really low orthodoxy scores on like basic Christian doctrine. So what one person might say, okay, well, to be a Christian means you believe this doctrine. There are a lot of people who like probably consider themselves a Christian almost like it's an ethnicity.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah.
oh, it's just part of my background. It's what my family is.
Yeah.
But like, if you were to ask like core doctrinal stuff, they'd be like, I don't know. But to them, it's like, those are not essential issues.
Yeah.
And
When they actually are to the faith.
yeah.
I mean, there's closed fisted issues that if you don't follow this, then you're not in the club.
So what are we talking about?
Yeah, and I don't mean to be exclusive like that, but it actually is. Like, truth is exclusive.
Yeah.
There's certain things that Jesus and the disciples and the prophets claimed, and they said that was true and it was validated. Like, Jesus would reference older prophets. Jesus references the creation story.
Yeah.
You know, he references the creation story of being 7 days and Adam and Eve being a true story. So now I don't put too much pressure on because there's evolution has such a stronghold in our society, you know, and it's hard to go from that learning your whole life to saying, oh, it was only 7 days, 6,500 years ago. That's tough. But as far as the resurrection, that is an issue that you cannot waver on.
Yeah.
If you don't believe that Christ physically died on the cross and rose again and atoned for sins through that, then you can't call yourself a Christian.
Those are the basics. There's some other, I guess, not closed-fisted items where I could see people having different
Open-fisted, of course.
Yeah.
There's open-fisted Calvinism versus non-Calvinism.
Yeah.
The interpretations of Revelation or whatever and stuff like that. You know what I mean? There's plenty of stuff. There's plenty of debate, and that's why there's so many denominations.
Right.
But Catholics laugh at us because of all the denominations too. You know that?
Yeah.
I got to be honest. I read a lot of comments on some ridiculous seeking church services like the big Christmas pageant or the Addams Family sermon or doing something stupid and hokey. And the Catholics are on there like, Protestants losing their minds. And they're like, how can I argue with that?
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
You know?
There's something you said and it's stirred an idea.
Were we talking about it off microphone?
No, it was just now.
Oh. Addams Family?
No.
You watched that new show Wednesday?
I did.
I liked it.
It was good. My kids wanted to watch it because they kept seeing the little like, dance.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it was on TikTok and all that. So they knew the songs, but I was like, honestly, guys, it's not super violent, but it's like it's got some scary parts that I know would give my kids nightmares. So they're like, we want to watch it. And I was
There
like,
were a couple creepy parts.
yeah, it's like it's mostly okay, except until it's not. And then
How old's Olivia?
9,
And how old's Penelope?
6.
Yeah.
They watched.
There might be a little bit young.
Yeah, they watched an anime the other day, and it was more violent than we remembered or expected it to be. And then even Olivia, she was like, I don't think this is for kids. And we're like, yeah, I think you're right. And I'm sorry, we'll turn that off.
She's like parenting herself.
Pretty much. Yeah. So we're like, this is fine. And like, she's like, yeah, I don't think this is for me.
That's another crazy thing. I look around like kids my cousin's age, 14, 13, they've raised unfettered, uninterrupted internet access.
Yeah.
What that is doing to kids. I didn't touch the internet until I was 15. That was the first time I used the internet.
Yeah.
And
it was a very different internet.
Oh yeah. It was at the library, you know, public. Like I didn't have a computer until I was like 18 at my parents' house. But what is it doing to children where every kid that I know has a smartphone and internet access with no parental controls? I know what I would do as a kid. And the younger you pollute that mind, the worse it's going to be.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? So my wife and I were really holding the line on that. Like, we take that seriously. I feel like once you open that box, you can't.
You cannot close it.
And so what's funny is I was talking to my oldest the other day, and I was like, she was like, "Oh, Daddy, when can I get a phone? No, I want a phone." You know, like every kid. And I was like, honestly, you know what? I was like,
when you're 30.
Yeah, I was like, in 20 years you can have one. But I was like, you know what it is, hon? I was like, it's almost like addictive. And she's like, what do you mean? And I was like, honestly, I'm a grown man and I'm on my phone more than I would like to be.
Yeah.
And like, I don't even always have the self-control to like put it down and pay attention and, you know, be engaged. I just, you know, dissociate for a while and just scroll through nonsense. And I was like, so part of my concern is that like, it's going to be addictive for my children.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I don't think you're on it that much. And I was like, you see me around the house, like I'll be laying in bed, whatever. I was like, you don't think I'm on it that much? And she's like, no, not really. But what's interesting is like, okay, well, she's a child. Like I knew myself before smartphones.
Yeah.
And now I realize I'm like, I never used to lay in bed for 3 hours and just scroll. That wasn't a thing.
No.
And so to her, like, this is the only context she knows.
Exactly.
I've always had it. And so to her, it's like, it's not a lot. It's normal. But yeah, we're really like trying to hold the line on that because
That's good.
Yeah, once you open that box, and I know a lot of parents like, I don't want to say they cave, but I feel like they cave, and I'm like, yeah, it's unfettered access to all the good and the terrible things of the internet and social media and bullying. Like I've seen cases of like, you know, the online bullying stuff. It's horrible, and we're just like, I don't think the reward is worth the risk.
It's not. I don't want to intrude on your parenting at all. So don't take me this, but like in my, I don't see any reason why a 9-year-old would need a phone with internet access.
No.
Get her a flip phone.
Yeah.
Have her text T9.
Yeah.
Keep that going.
Yeah. To communicate with us, sure. But yeah, beyond that, like, nah, you're good.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting about this younger generation, and I don't know if it's just like our school or what, but the type of content that is available, like I feel like the media is different in some really good ways. Like I noticed the shows that I watch, when we were growing up, there's always an antagonist. There's always a bully. There's always some jerk. And they're sort of, you know, like they're the comedic.
Yeah.
It's funny when you watch them pick on people and they bully people. I feel like for the most part, I watch the shows my kids watch, and there are no bullies in the shows. There's no harsh humor.
I don't know. I'm in favor of bullies. I really am.
It's funny to an extent, but
I think it's needed for a healthy society sometimes. But anyway, continue.
So, well, maybe, I don't know. But what I notice in like my kids' school is like not that there's no bullying, but there's a lot less, and the way they talk to each other is much more kind. And so like,
okay, that's good.
Which is good. I'm like, you don't hear kids ripping on each other. Like we used to just be merciless, and like I used to be merciless.
Well, wait till she gets to junior high.
That's a whole nother story.
Listen, 9 years old, it's angelic in school.
I feel like I wasn't.
No?
It definitely got progressively worse. The older you get, the worse it gets for sure. But like, so here's a funny example from like the other week. I think we were playing video games at home or something. And I was like, I'm such an idiot. And my kids looked at me like I dropped an F-bomb. They were like, Daddy, you said a bad word. And I was like, I did? And they were like, idiot. And I'm like, oh, did they tell you at school that's a bad word? And they were like, yes, you never call someone. And I was like, that's probably
Dude,
probably not a bad
maintain
thing.
that innocence as long as possible.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
The longer you can maintain it, the healthier your kids are going to be.
Yeah.
We're desensitizing kids so young now.
Mm-hmm.
Like 5-year-olds can browse the internet like
Yeah.
it's nothing.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what they have seen by the time they're 6.
Yeah. Like when I was a kid, I would watch, Rambo and like seeing people getting shot up and like, all those action movies and
Yeah.
the horror movies as a kid. And I realize now, I'm like, if I showed this to my kids today, they would be mortified.
Yeah.
And I'm like, maybe it's a good thing because like I grew up just seeing like all sorts of whatever violent movies
Yeah.
as a kid. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, I'm okay with that.
Desensitization.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm glad that my kids see like bloodshed or violence and they shy away. I'm like,
Yeah.
good. You should be sensitive to that
Yeah.
because those are awful things.
Mm-hmm.
And so in some ways it's like a quote unquote like softer generation. And in some ways that's a bad thing.
It's a bad thing, but it's
In
what
some
you're
ways,
saying, yeah.
where it's like, oh, I would never just go out and call somebody an idiot. I'm like, oh, that's probably good.
That's actually kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, so in some ways I'm like, yeah, you kids need to be a little harder. But in other ways, I'm like, you know what? I'm glad you just have your bent is towards kindness
Yeah.
and not unnecessary roughness, let's say, with your words and,
Yeah.
and your attitudes.